Hello, I'm M. Welcome to dMTable. World building series. How to world build like the greats of the classics. We had everything from Fallout to Final Fantasy and back again. And now I will discuss how to world build for indie horror type of genre. Now, whether you're a dungeon master and want to run a horror, little one-shot, two-shot, a campaign, or you want to make an indie game, this is for you. It's a quick, thorough method on how to really hit that indie horror vibe that will either go viral with your audience or will go beloved with your table of players. Now, am I baiting here? How can I claim this? Well, it's for a seasoned dungeon master. It's a simple notion of feeling what the real attracting factors are in indie horror. Like something previous that I have mentioned, we have, first and foremost, a measure of manufactured nostalgia. This is what current indie horror does a lot. Why is this a thing? Is because it's not supposed to be just a marketing term. It's not supposed to be a bad thing. Manufactured nostalgia is something that should be good if done well. Good for you, good for the art. Why? Because it's not blatant nostalgia pandering. It's more like refining the activities, notions, and thoughts that we had when we enjoyed ourselves in the past, or that we would and did hear about, and we would have enjoyed ourselves if we did. So for things that we didn't experience. If we wanted to do something, it better be something that is universally beloved and in a core level. So it is like having a flashlight that I said when you're little, when you have a flashlight and you're allowed to go explore in the little bit of patch of park behind the houses that you imagine is a dark forest full of who knows what. It could be something supernatural. You don't know. You're like 6 to 8 years old. Who knows? And you have this new, big, bright flashlight that's metallic and big, and it holds 2 huge batteries, and it feels like a weapon against the dark in your hands, and you can click it on and off by yourself, and you're so full of adventure and raring to go. And yet there's excitement, trepidation. What will you see? You suspect you won't see much. After all, you heard that there is nothing much to be afraid of, but what of those interesting shadows? What if you see suddenly something that will spook you in there, like a moving shadow of a branch after you flash your light over it, and it looks way too weird and way too creepy when it was cast down that cement sewer pipe that was behind it. What about that? Or running into a dead cat on the road suddenly in the dark and flashing your flashlight into it. What about that? Those are things both horrible and exhilarating. And that is because you had, at that point, zero anything else but adventure. And as such, I believe that in modern times, due to how much stress and bad things there are in the world, on Earth, horror, by virtue of horror, is de-stressing. It's comfortable. It's liberating. It lets you worry about something else for a moment, despite of yourself. You might not even know it, but once you're trying to play a horror game successfully, you're probably enjoying yourself in a sort of small manner of what I described just now for your experience as a child enjoying something similar. Life, after all, becomes, at one point, sufficiently horrifying enough here that horror becomes a warm and cozy home for a mind of a gamer. This is almost despite oneself, because we may have many great things. Some even have wonderful families, great homes, they don't live in poverty, and so on. I could say the opposite for myself currently, but eventually, maybe, with effort, I'll be elsewhere, but I'll still love horror for making me feel pure adventure in something else, rather than just mundane horror, and not anything else. Whether I'm in a bad place or in a great place, I'll always have memories of the bad place. So horror will always be almost akin to an arcade game for me. So then why do the younger people like horror as well so much these days? Well, again, nostalgic activity resonates regardless. You'll still love the feeling of adventure. Some people online will tell you, oh, it's so weird how young people are afraid of empty rooms. What of those back rooms? But I love back rooms, and especially pool rooms, due to their aesthetics and so on. For me, they're a vacation, and I'm aware of it. But I'm also aware how back rooms, to begin with, the first couple of levels and so on, are essentially a modern jungle where they are a mental vacation, even subconsciously. Even a young person will essentially say, what if one day my worries could leave me and I could no-clip into a different reality? Not the forest where I don't have any survival skills and will die in 5 hours flat, but somewhere where, strangely enough, there's still warmth enough, food enough, I won't die from pneumonia, I will be able to eat and drink probably. But I need to balance it, because this would feel too consciously like I'm escaping from my worries, so I need to balance it with monsters and weirdness and weirdos and people being wasteful with their lives and lives of their organization and such, and stupid humor and stuff like that. People make excuses for their imagination because they feel it's not mature enough if they just indulged, but it's much more mature when you learn to indulge and then learn to make that indulgence artistic and clever and wondrous and beautiful, because then you know how to aim at the unadulterated experience that I explained in the first place. A nostalgic experience. It doesn't have to be of horror either. Many of us have nostalgic experiences for the analog, for videotapes with our cartoons, for magic of those days where every new video of a movie or a cartoon put into our VCR would bring us into a new world, times where Disney didn't suck. And so we transfer that to a horror. Also, it's no coincidence that a pizza place for family gatherings is another big target of this. It's the same deal. Heck, Toy Story did it before Five Nights at Freddy's did it. It's not a contemptual concept. No need to laugh at young people for having also desire for distressing among memories they had, or in some cases didn't even have, because a fun, playful getting lost in a pizza place at night, even to me, sounds like wonderful time. Now, I don't consider every indie horror playable, because sometimes I don't like opening and closing doors 3 million times and stuff like that, but the idea is there. And as a dungeon master or designer, you should understand that idea will bring glory to your game if you manage to get the gameplay even half right. Now, sometimes if you get the gameplay perfect, it will bring glory to your game regardless of the idea, but that's the other approach. You have both approaches to work with. Now, to a dungeon master, this is also the same note. If your idea brings the funnest in your players and yourself, because to have a good campaign, DM should be hyped for it too, not just the players. If you find something that hypes you yourself to run as much as it hypes your players to play, now there you have a winner. And there you have activities that will get you to just to joyously enjoy your time and not feel like you're working and wasting time and having to pressure yourself or others to achieve something that is teeter-tottering on the tip of a needle, which is an often feeling for DM. Balancing a great campaign just leaves us feeling like it's juggling eggs with metal gloves. So just remember the beautiful, remember the exciting, remember even the horrible, but remember how it connects in a noble way, in an exciting way, in a great way, and somewhat even in satirical, joking way. For those who really, 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 really can't do without toilets, which I can, but if you can't, then that might be a campaign for you. But anyways, that is how you should plan the core of your indie horror. I suggest also against shoving your player into a predefined role that's more rigid and boring. I have seen many a game fail because it made you a random, boring, typical, say, oh, he was the one that committed those things and he's just going insane or something. I would trillion times more be a completely unexplained random person in the back rooms, because then I could make a story as a player about my character that could be as uniquely whatever the heck I'm feeling like playing right now, as opposed to what the developer or the DM tried to shove down my throat. So please remember this. A defined character can be a winning formula if you're making something super uniquely refined. But if you're running it for a player, usually the player has a better idea what they enjoy about their own character and about themselves and about their world around them, then you do so try to make it as customizable, as self-insertable and imaginatable into any kind of thing as is almost possible. Best things usually go being able to choose more about your players, about your world, leaving parts up to debate, leaving some mystery to it, leaving width and length to it, and yet introducing lots of lore as well to things that will be fun to contemplate and fun to have activities about, without them therefore constraining the possibilities of your players and your activities. At least not too much, at least not beyond your scope. Then you'll have a winner. And sometimes you'll want to make the characters more defined for a team, but you then better have an extraordinarily fantastic team. For example, if we're talking indie horror, I kind of like that one game where you're a radio show host that needs to save characters from dying in a horror movie scenario by them calling you at the night radio and then you telling them, and you have a cool assistant and stuff. That's a whole complex premise, and the whole thing is retro and placed in the 80s and so on. That has reason to have a slightly defined character, which is still left extremely up to the imagination. In fact, if the game wasn't so voiced, arguably this game would still achieve this. That's how much attention to this is needed. And now, as for the horror itself, well, what will scare your players is sort of something, a bit of a psychology. What meshes well with said activity, with said nostalgic activities? You want to make something that sort of feels right, that will be so exciting that it doesn't almost matter whether it will be scary at first. Because if people get self-invested into the world, into the premise, into existing there, if you immerse them, then if what is scary also feels like it's consistent and existent in the world, will be more relevant, more immersive, more scary to them because now they are an inhabitant of that world. And this is a big topic. I'll talk about horror more in the future, but in general, so that we discuss what is scary and what is not and how to achieve it. But for world building, these were the tips. And now you can choose your genre. You can go for that crazy existential, weird horror thing where everything is completely alien, including the player, because that's actually fun. Seeing completely new things and feeling completely new things and being inside of a new thing is fun. Or you can just make something as vacation-y as the pool rooms where you just explore infinite hotel pools with maybe some fun little quirks and quests and ideas of uniqueness, creepiness, and weirdness. Hey, it works. It works when it's so beautifully designed. So, player, adventurer, DM, game design. If this was useful to you or unique, maybe you can spare me a click. And I could see you here next, or perhaps even every week, because every other week I have more such things for you. I make them myself. I'm M, and welcome to dMTable. See you next time.